Well, the split with the Rays is exactly what the Astros, well, maybe not exactly what they wanted, but Hunter Brown dealt today, just like he's done all season long. The offense sputtered, but it was a win nonetheless. Two rookies are up, Shea Whitcomb and Jacob Melton. We'll talk about this, and the Astros are looking for a pitcher. And what about these medical reports? Let's start right now.
I'm looking to the bullpen to bring my lefty in. Keep the lead and make your team look pedestrian. It's in your wheelhouse, we'll swing for the fence. You know it's money around here, man, I ain't talking expense. Strike one, heat a low in the way, you can't hit it. Know you wanna start a rally, but you better forget it. Strike two, off speed, same spot, your car looking. Get ready at the plate, this time you're not cooking. Strike three, swinging out of the zone. You ain't even touch it first. Tell me how they gonna drive you home. Walking back, looking like we ain't cool then. The game's over, might as well put them back to the bullpen, oh yeah.
Hey there, everybody, and welcome back to the Bullpen. I'm H-Town Wheelhouse. He's Mike Stanton. You can find us on pretty much any social media platform, especially here on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. Check out, you can get the Back to the Bullpen t-shirt from Ram Shirts there with the QR code. The Astros split the series with the Rays, and, you know, you would have loved a series win, but after losing the series in Tampa, a split is not bad. And we'll talk about it. Was a really weird split. Mike, tell everybody where they can find you on social media, sir.
Mike Stanton 29. Yeah, this was what a day. I mean, Hunter Brown was outstanding again. He is really trying to cement himself at the top of not just the Astros rotation, but really pitchers across Major League Baseball. He's right there with everyone. And then Yordan news. You're right. This was a weird day, especially when you look back at the Astros, just scoring one run and winning a baseball game. Doesn't happen very often.
You're right. It doesn't happen. That means your pitching has been really good and your offense did just enough. Hunter Brown goes out and just continues, his dominance on the mound. This is becoming who Hunter Brown is for the Houston Astros. And it's definitely welcomed, especially with Ronel Blanco going down recently, right. Another Tommy John surgery. You need your aces to act like aces. And, he did only go 6 innings. But it was a win nonetheless, not as dominant as it's been. 4 walks, 5 strikeouts. He did, again, only give up the 1 hit, keeps his ERA under 2. He was supported by Brian King and Brian Abreu, and Brian King, who had gotten blown up the night before on the mound. Yeah. Josh Hader comes in and gets his 15th save. And an offense that behind you only has 4 hits and 1 run, you can't ask for more out of your pitching staff.
No, and listen, Hunter had great stuff today. The command just wasn't where he wanted it to be. 93 pitches in those 6 innings, which isn't extraordinarily high. Had a no-hitter through 5, gave up a hit in the 6th inning, but just got the pitch count elevated a little too much with the 4 walks and the 5 strikeouts, and had to go to the bullpen. But I was really happy to see them get Brian King back in the game, just simply because there's no place you want to be after a night like a game that he had his last time out. It was just ugly. He has had a spectacular season. And this is where, ERA, especially for relievers, just simply doesn't tell the story. You can have one bad game and it can blow everything up. I've told you guys before, I was notorious for having 1 or 2, maybe 3 of these games in a season that I'm going to go 1/3 of an inning, I'm going to give up 4. It's going to elevate my my ERA, but 95% or 90% of the games I go out there, I actually do a pretty good job. It's just the nature of the beast of being a big league reliever. And it was great to see King go out there and just put that behind him and go and just do what he's been doing all season. He really has been arguably the most reliable pitcher the Astros have had coming out of the pen, because there's just been the one day, unfortunately, it was a really ugly day.
Yeah, you go from 1/3 of an inning, 5 hits, 5 runs, all earned, one of those a home run, to then you look at what he did today on the mound and getting back out there. He had a day of rest yesterday, 2/3 of an inning, only gave up one hit. He didn't have any strikeouts, but it's still a clean inning. And that's important. And I was wanting to ask you about this because I always hear Joe Espada talk about it, or you see Joe Espada do it, where a guy will go out there one day. Now, King had the day off the day before, but a lot of times you'll see a guy go out there and give up some runs, and the next day he's out there.
Yeah.
And he'll say, look, I got to get him back out there on the mound. I got to get him. I got to keep his confidence up.
Sure.
How is that a confidence booster? Like, what's your mindset as a relief pitcher?
Well, the two categories that I really harped on, that I really took some pride in, ERA wasn't one of them. Games pitched, how many times was I being run out there? Because if I'm being run out there a lot, I'm probably doing my job. And then the other one was inherited runners. All the other data stats, hits per 9, all that kind of stuff, those vary.
Right.
And those can change very quickly, but those were the two stats that I looked at. But yeah, it is, and it doesn't matter how much of a veteran pitcher you are. Confidence goes up and down as quickly as one pitch, as quickly as one outing. And, the one thing that Joe did right, Joe being Joe Espada, is get King back in there as quick as you can. Last thing you want him to do, because he's a vital cog in this bullpen.
Right.
And the last thing you want him to do is sitting on the bench, sitting in the bullpen, thinking about his last time out. So it's great to see Joe, get him back in there ASAP. You couldn't pitch him yesterday. I mean, yeah, he had only pitched 1/3 of an inning, but he gave up 5 hits. He gave up 5 runs. He threw a lot of pitches. Yeah. Give him a day to breathe, but get him back in there ASAP, especially in a winning situation like it was in today's game.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that is one thing that I've learned, that, that's why guys are in the major leagues. They are there because they've learned to push through.
And you got to remember, the other guys, they're getting paid to hit. So it's not like
it's not like you're up there. Yeah, it's not like you're guaranteeing a swing and miss every single time. But this is wild. Tika 52 says we were outscored 30-6 and we still got the split. I mean, that's baseball.
Yeah, and listen, that's a big number, but it's not indicative of how this series really went. I mean, you had a blowout, so a lot of those 30 runs were done. That's why you always, and that's what we all do that love this sport so much. It's why analytics have become such a huge part of the game, is because you have to look at the finer parts of the game. You can't just look at a stat and go, oh my gosh, they really got lucky. Well, they actually pitched really well most of this series. They just had the one big game that was pretty ugly.
Yeah, they did. Now, one of, I guess, really the big talking points, or the points of discussion for a lot of the Astros fans this weekend has been the injury bug and the reports. And we remember back to Kyle Tucker, but I actually take it back further. 2021, Alex Bregman, when he was dealing with the soft tissue injury, and it was like, yeah, he's ready. He's coming back. No, he's had a setback. He's coming back. And it was back and forth.
Yeah. I think that was hamstring, right?
Yeah. Hamstring. But it was nobody really knew what it was. They weren't really saying what it was.
Well, that's one thing. I will say this about the organization. They are very tight to the vest as far as the information that's going out in the media. It's the way they have done it basically all the way through this long run that they've had, this golden age of Astros baseball, that I like to say. And it started with Jeff Luhnow. Jeff Luhnow had a very, go back to the wonderful movie of Meet the Parents, a a very small circle of trust.
Mm.
Then we talk about Jeff Luhnow, and that has kind of just spilled into this post Jeff Luhnow era of Houston Astros baseball. And so they keep this information very tight to the vest. There's no leaks. There's not anything like that. And, the Kyle Tucker situation was a little bit different just simply because, they told us for 3 months that the ankle wasn't broken. There wasn't a broken bone. It wasn't until, Kyle was done with his rehab and he was coming back. He's the one that leaked it, that, there was a hairline fracture. There was a break. That's why he was out for so long. Is this same type situation? I don't think so, but why don't we go ahead and tell everybody what the information was that came out today?
Yeah, so basically, Yordan Alvarez and the team over the weekend did state that where there was swelling and fluid and inflammation when they originally took imaging of his hand, it was a strain or a sprain. They were treating it as such. And Yordan said as the swelling went down, the pain subsided, so he started swinging. Well, he did take BP, I believe, on Friday, and his hand was hurting even more afterwards. You notice a little grimace here or there. Saturday is when they really went in and rediscovered it, and they came out Saturday and said that the images showed a fracture in his hand versus just swelling. And I mean, the fan base went absolutely brutal. Now, I believe that Yordan Alvarez, from what he said, he thinks that he compounded the issue by continuing to swing.
Sure.
And that is probably where it came from. There's no medical report that says that. That's just speculation on Yordan's part. So what I liked this time was Yordan came out and talked about it. So that's the first time you've really had it, like right after in the news. It was just like, for me, I was a little more satisfied, but Mike, I'm kind of with the fans on this. Like, it just seems like, do we have a medical staff that can't read an X-ray? How are they misdiagnosing two injuries like this 2 years in a row with superstar players? It seems like a problem that I don't know. Like, why is it there? And I've never been in a clubhouse. So
the biggest issue here is the optics are brutal. I mean, this is ugly. I mean, there's no other way to state it. It does make the organization kind of look like, are they hiding stuff? Now, the other side of this is, I don't know how many times you've had MRIs and you've had X-rays and stuff like that. It is not an exact science. It's not. I mean, they may have done the imaging, back when he first went on the IL and he was having issues. And listen, we heard from Yordan that, he felt like he was getting better. So, there would be no reason, if you're getting better, there's really no reason for you to do any other testing. We're going to go by how it feels. And I mean, he was getting very close to coming back. And then he ends up having the setback, and with the pain and the grimacing that he was doing, they do a couple more tests, and then they find the fracture. Was the fracture there the whole time? I don't know. I mean, and to tell you the truth, I don't know if they know, because if there was inflammation when they did the testing at the beginning, when he first went on the IL, a lot of times they don't do testing for several days because of the inflammation. They want to get a clear picture of what's going on. And if there's a lot of swelling in the area, regardless of what the injury is, where it is on the body, they'll hold off just simply because you're just not going to get as clear a picture when there is no inflammation. So
yeah, exactly.
I agree that the optics are brutal. The optics are terrible. I'm glad that it came out. It's unfortunate for, the organization, for the team, for all the fan base, for all of us, that Yordan's going to be out again. But, hey, you got to put up the situation is what it is, but luckily they've found what it is, and he can heal now. And hopefully when he comes back, then he can put this behind him.
So Susan here asks, she's like, how hard is it to see a hairline fracture? Serious question. Well, I actually
It can
Googled
be
it.
difficult. It
Yeah.
can be difficult.
And basically what it says is most hairline fractures are not seen on x-rays.
Well,
They
because
may
the
become
reason is
visible.
because
Yeah,
the action, there's no actual opening.
right.
The when you look
Hence the
at
word hairline.
right, when you look at even with the advancements in our medical fields, and it really is incredible, some of the pictures that you can see, bones and x-rays, they've advanced too, but nothing like an MRI. Well, MRI is mostly soft tissue. You can actually see a pulled muscle in an MRI. Whereas if there's no displacement of the fracture, and it is and we don't even know exactly where the fracture is. We don't know if it's a complete fracture all the way through the bone or if it's only partial fracture.
Right.
These are stuff, the information we don't have. It can be very, very difficult to see a hairline fracture, and this is what came out with the Kyle Tucker ankle after fouling the ball off his foot 2 days in a row, that it was another hairline fracture. So, we would love to be able to say that, these tests are absolute, they're 100%.
Right.
Yeah, they're not. And in some cases, it's still more of an art than a science.
Yeah, no, it just seemed like, everybody was mentioning everything, whether it was
Right.
rushing back, Jake Myers and look, I do think this, Uncle Drew here says Yordan has had hand issues in the past. Truly believe that they need to let the hand heal and not rush him back. And I think it wasn't the Astros that were rushing Yordan back. It was literally like, if you are Yordan Alvarez and I come to you and I say, how are you feeling? You say, I'm feeling a lot better, coach. Well, then they're going to take that as, all right, well, you know what? Because I don't think the Astros would have brought in minor league pitchers to face Yordan Alvarez with live BP if they thought there really was something there. And that's where I think, too,
No doubt.
if you look at the obvious chain of events, I mean, we're not dealing with cavemen here. We're not dealing with knuckleheads. We're dealing with professionals that get paid a lot of money. So, again, I understand the frustration from the fan base. I feel it as well, but it is just one of those things where you have to really peel back everything and just understand. I believe that going forward, that they really need to look at this because rest is a lot of times your body's best antidote to getting better.
I mean, listen, a broken bone, that's the only thing that is going to let it heal. And, the one thing that we do know about this organization over the years is that they are usually ultra conservative in these type situations. When a guy comes back and says, yeah, I'm ready to go, we're going to give you some more time. That's just the way it is. So, it's part of the organization's job, part of the medical staff's job is to protect the player from himself, because and I've, 1990, I went through shoulder issues that I should have taken time off. I've tried to push through, and it ended up costing me the whole season except for the first 3 weeks. I rehabbed my shoulder 3 different times because I just simply didn't give it enough time to heal the way it needed to. I think that in this case, now that this has all come out and there is a hairline fracture, the Astros are going to be conservative here. And to tell you the truth, I think Yordan's going to be conservative also, because listen, if this was something else, if this was an ankle, or if this was, a soft tissue situation and he could play DH and he didn't have to run the bases, okay, this is a hand. It doesn't matter. This is like having a sports car with bad tires. It doesn't matter how much horsepower you got. If you got bad tires, well, you're not going anywhere. And this is the same thing for any hitter, but especially a guy like Yordan with his power. Hands are everything. That's what's holding the bat. And if you can't hold the bat, you can't hit.
Yeah, and Uncle Drew does ask. He was like, "Do you guys think that Yordan's performance early in the season was due to this hand issue?" Look,
Very well could be.
he had something going. I don't think he's had the fracture the whole time, but
Well,
he's had
he was
something
right
going.
that he has had hand issues
He has,
in the past, and
but
we
I
talked
think
about
this year he's had
even in spring training, right? What didn't he
yeah,
take time off for a hand
he
issue
did.
then? So was the hairline fracture back then? We don't know, and
Right,
we're not going to know.
right,
The important thing is that they found it. Now they can address the issue. Now they can figure out what's going on. But
right.
I would love to say that this is something that this type of stuff happens all the time. It's just unfortunate the Astros.
Well,
It's happened twice in the last 2 seasons.
I think, Mike, it brings us into another topic, and we can kind of bring 2 topics in together because we're going to talk about Jacob Melton and Shea Whitcomb getting the call up here in a second. Jacob Melton actually had his first hit today. He legged out an infield single, ran 30.3 miles per hour.
Oh, he's flying.
He was flying.
That's elite.
He has
anything over 30 is elite. Yeah.
And so, it's basically
smelling that hit, man. That's a first big league hit.
Yeah, first big league hit. They said I saw McTaggart tweet out that ball's going to the dugout. And then I think the Rays challenged the hit call, which is kind of lame. But so
it was a 1-0 ball game. I mean, it was,
that's true. That's true. Well, so the Astros win 1-0 today. They win the game the other day 2-1, which I highlighted. That was the first time since Tom Glavine, okay, where a pitcher threw 83 pitches. Was as
the Fromber start. The Fromber start.
Yeah, the Fromber start. So you have the 2 wins where the Astros didn't score anything, and then the 2 losses where they score 3 runs by home runs. Yesterday, Jeremy Pena, a solo shot to lead the game off. He's a superb leadoff hitter this year. Then he hits another home run, the 2-run homer. So you're like, okay, Pena's got 2 home runs. We're going to score a lot of runs. My question to you is, dovetailing off of this hand injury talk with Yordan Alvarez, is this team who they are going forward? Because it seems like they have a hard time scoring runs, because we've got some numbers on that, on scoring 3 runs or less this year. And it's kind of alarming.
11-21. And to tell you the truth, 11 wins, especially, we are at June 1st. That's a big number for that category, because usually you go back over the years and you go across the league, 4 runs is really the key. If you score 4 runs, you got a chance of winning. You score less, you're not going to win very many. So the Astros to have 11 wins just shows how good the pitching has been. But they've got 32. They're 11-21 in that category. This is a problem. They've only played 59 games. So they're, a couple of games over 500 as far as that category. And that is not a category you want to be over 500.
No, it's not.
As far as just the overall numbers. Who is this team offensively? Well, the sample size is now, you're a third of the way through the season now. Okay. The sample size is big enough to actually put some identity on this offense. Now, are they this anemic where, they're not scoring at all, or they're scoring a run? I don't think they're this anemic, but, the numbers speak for themselves. And, I think the Astros, they're going to have to kind of go old school here, go back to the 60s before they move the mound. You're going to have to pitch and pitch and pitch. There are going to be days, but especially with Yordan not coming back anytime soon, this is going to be how this team wins. They're going to have to pitch very well, because, I think that the idea of them scoring 4 or 5 runs on a nightly basis, I think that might be a little bit of a pipe dream.
Now, I will say this, there is a silver lining in this. And, if you can get more players following along this path, Jeremy Pena, today, it was shown the most valuable players when it comes to baseball. Mm-hmm. And there's only one player that's more valuable than Jeremy Pena, and it's Aaron Judge. So Jeremy Pena's WAR number is 3.4. That's over Cal Riley, who's having an MVP type season. Pete Crow Armstrong, who's also having an MVP type season. So Jeremy Pena is really doing the job.
How many shortstops are on that list?
There are not any.
Pena, that's it.
It is him.
That's where the WAR number is.
Bobby Witt Jr.'s tied for 10th.
Okay.
So,
but my point is
right.
is that the reason, I mean, because Jeremy has been very good offensively. I mean, you look at what Judge is doing. The Judge is on another planet. It's ridiculous what he is what he is doing yet again.
Yes.
But where a big part of what Pena is doing isn't just the offense, is that he's playing the premier position on the field, which is shortstop, and he's doing very well at that position defensively.
Exactly. So can two minor leaguers coming up be something that the Astros are doing to spark, or are these guys on display? Jacob Melton, who just came up today, we talked a little bit about him.
Yeah.
Was sporting a pretty decent OPS, had only 17 games AAA. He actually came back from an injury, so he had only played 17 games at 880 OPS and AAA. And then Shea Whitcomb, who everybody's been asking the last 2 weeks, why is he not up here?
Right.
With 18 home runs, 38 RBI. The guy has just been hitting the cover off the ball.
And his OPS is what, 950 something?
Yes.
Something like that. Yeah. So
Yeah.
that's pretty legit. I mean, these are AAA numbers, and so you have to, I don't want to say you take them because again, the data doesn't, it doesn't lie. You just don't know if those type numbers, how they're going to equate to Major League Baseball. And the last thing you want to do, if you can, because I don't know if there's really a way to get around it, because the Astros need these guys to come up and be contributors. Are they going to put up those same numbers? Probably not. But if they can put together some quality at bats, get a big hit here or there, drive in a few runs, the Astros will absolutely take it, because the offense has been sputtering.
It has, and without Yordan Alvarez in there, the big threat. I think you do have a couple series where coming up PNC Park, the Astros can hit well there. They do face Paul Skeens in one of those 3 games, so we'll see how many hits they get in that game. They also go to Cleveland.
Well, you know what this team's done in the past. And I'm not making a prediction that they're going to, score 6 or 7 runs off Paul Skeens, because that doesn't happen very often.
Right.
Usually when they have somebody like this, that's one of those games that they kind of rise to the occasion.
Well, that's true.
And we'll see. And wait, but what does that mean? Does that mean the offense is going to necessarily score? No, it also means that the pitching can do, well, like what Hunter Brown did tonight, just go out there and shove. I know that, back in the day, the best pitcher on the planet was Pedro Martinez. And he pitched when he was with the Red Sox, he pitched very, very well against the Yankee team I was on. Problem is, he couldn't win. They couldn't beat us. I mean, we would have, he would give up a run or two, and Mussina would go out there and give up 1. I mean, it just happened to be one of those situations that the numbers were always there for Pedro, except in the win column, and that's the one that really hurt him. That he goes, the whole "Who's your daddy? Who's your daddy?" statement.
Yeah, I guess the Yankees are my daddy. I remember that. Oh man, you mentioned Mike Mussina. That is one of the guys that I just absolutely
20-game winner and retired.
He
was a 20-game winner and hung him up.
But his whole, before the pitch delivery, the lean, I mean, he was to me one of the coolest pitchers. So Jesse asked, he goes, how do we know, or how do you know when these players are ready for the major leagues? And before you kind of give your major league experience or 2 cents, I think a lot of times call-ups like this, Shea Whitcomb was called up because they found out that Chaz McCormick had a left oblique strain, so they brought him up. So it was out of necessity. Jacob Melton, I believe, is up here also because of the Yordan Alvarez news. But the Jacob Melton, I hear they had to make a roster move, and I haven't seen that roster move.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's necessity, but really, is there a general, or is there a broader like understanding of, okay, this guy's major league ready, or is it literally an individual basis? It's different every year, every situation.
It could not be more of an individual basis.
Okay.
I mean, usually a September, or not a September call up, a call up is by necessity. Rarely does a guy, especially on a contending club, does a guy get called up just to be called up. There's got to be a reason. If nothing else, he's got to have a roster spot. There's only 26 guys on the major league roster. So how do you know? Well, there's a lot of information that goes into that situation. It's not just what is he doing on the field. It's what is he doing defensively? What is he doing off the field? What are the conversations like? What happens? The big one is what happens when he struggles? How does he deal with adversity? Because there's going to be adversity when you get to Major League Baseball. Even Mike Trout, I was on MLB Network Radio on Saturday, and we were talking about Mike Trout because he had just come back from the IL yet again. And I pulled up his numbers, and oh my gosh. I mean, and he had a 10-year run that he had an OPS, I think over 900 for 10 straight seasons.
Wow.
All the MVPs, all the second MVPs, everything. But even Mike Trout, when he came, because, his rookie year wasn't his first year. He came up the year before and he struggled. So that's usually what happens when, young guys come up from the minor leagues is they, it's a big step to go from AA, AAA to Major League Baseball. We'll have to wait and see, but that's what we have to make sure that we look at both of these guys, especially Shea, because Shea was the one that's really lit it up with an OPS of well over 900. That he's not a savior, that he's not coming up okay, now all of a sudden this is going to be a great offensive team. It may be, but you just don't want to put that kind of pressure on him because listen, just getting called up is the pressure of the world.
Oh yeah, definitely. So to answer my own question earlier, I wasn't sure and I didn't want to misspeak. Ronel Blanco was transferred to the 60-day IL, right. So there's your roster created movement. The spot for Jacob Melton.
Yeah, when you go to the 60-day IL, not DL, the 60-day IL, you get taken off of the 26-man roster. You get taken off of the 26-man. Well, even when you go on the IL, maybe it's a 40-man roster. You get taken off the roster. So there's a roster spot.
Yeah, so the roster spot, put in there. Yeah, and then Zach DeCenzo is up because of the 10-day IL. I'm sorry. So Zach DeCenzo is on the 10-day IL with left hand inflammation. So there's another
there you go.
Hand injury. So you've got spots, you've got places to put these guys. But Joe Espada, I'm getting all these names mixed up. Bob Nightingale talked about how the Astros are in the market for a starting pitcher.
Sure.
Now, I've talked a little bit about what would be the chances of the Astros trading Framber Valdez. Well, with yet another pitcher injury and Framber being a historically healthy pitcher, you're not going to trade Framber. You're going to want to bring someone in. So the question now is Jacob Melton and Shea Whitcomb auditioning for the Astros in a more starting type position, or are they auditioning for another team in a trade? If the Astros want to get a significant arm, they're going to have to trade something of value. They can't just say, here's our AA guy or here's our single A guy. I mean, they may be trying out for another team.
So the answer to your which is it, A or B? The answer is yes. They're doing both. That's just the nature of being a young guy in Major League Baseball. And, the problem that the Astros have had, they've been on this long run that they don't have the minor league system that they have had in the past. We talked about this last year that, if they're going to bring somebody in, especially with, these two guys, two of their top prospects, you're going to have to subtract probably from the big league roster. And that's something you don't want to usually do, but you have to make the moves with the talent that you have. And so we'll have to wait and see. The other question is going to be is what kind of talent can they bring in? What are they really looking for? Probably not looking for a top of the rotation guy.
Right.
Astros are pretty good there with Hunter and Yordan. I'm sorry, Hunter and Hunter.
You heard it here first. Yordan
right.
will be pitching.
Yeah, he's pitching now. Back. Yeah, he's going to do a Shohei with Yordan and Valdez. So, that's Yordan. I did it again with Hunter Brown and Framber Valdez. Goodness
there
gracious.
You go.
So you're pretty good at the top. So you're looking for somebody that's going to be healthy, that's going to take the ball every 5 or 6 days, and it's going to give you some quality innings to take pressure off the bullpen. Does that mean a middle of the rotation guy? Probably. Is it a guy that, what you may be kind of keyholed into trying you may be keyholed into getting would be a guy that maybe isn't pitching quite as well, but has a track record that's been healthy, looking for a change of scenery, that type of thing. But we'll have to see. I mean, now it's time. Dana Brown, his work's cut out for him now. Now it's time to step up.
So you have a name. I've had some friends of mine speculate with me saying that maybe Taj Bradley from the Rays is going to be on the trading block, but I just think the Rays are going to take the we are in the mix kind of approach. But to me, it would be more like a Sandy Alcantara, who in the past, like go back to 2022, 14-9, 207 strikeouts with the Marlins.
Yeah.
This year he's 2-7 with an 8.47 ERA. But
there's the diamond in the rough. Yeah.
I mean, he's still got elite, fastball velo, 97 percentile. His ground ball percentage is 79%. So in Alcantara or someone like that, you could probably get on a bargain. Go, he hadn't really done great these last couple of years. And the actual pitching coaches.
But that's the type of guy that you're going to have to look at, because if it's anybody that's pitching well, they're going to be too expensive. Here's the other problem. It's June 1st.
Yeah.
Okay. We are just a third of the way through the season. We are not anywhere close to the trade. We're a third of the season away from the trade deadline. So we are nowhere close to even the trade season. So, when you talk about, at least a full month early, what does that do? That jacks up the price. That's another 4 or 5 starts. So, that makes it the timing is not optimal for Dana Brown and the Astros. But, you're going to look and see what's out there, kick the tires, and make the moves that you can make.
Because they're still waiting for, Arrighetti. We haven't really heard a timeline. I've heard July, but that's not a definitive set in stone.
Garcia.
Yeah, Luis Garcia, we're waiting on him. I mean, look, Lance McCullers continues to improve. So, look, I just think that this season is going to continue to be one that the Astros are going to have to keep their eye on first a little bit. It's
going to be a battle. There's no doubt. I mean,
still up by a half game.
The times of when the Astros just going out and running away from the division, we didn't see it last year. We're not going to see it again this year. It's going to be this is going to go all the way down to the wire.
Yeah, it will. But hey, this has been a great discussion, Mike. Thank you for your insight, not only on the major leagues, on the pitching, relief pitchers getting back out there, but just overall a great discussion. And I think we could be watching one of the few guys that's going to challenge Turek Skubal for the American League Cy Young in Hunter Brown.
Oh, he's right there.
He's right there with him.
I mean, to tell you the truth, he's had one hiccup.
Yeah.
And it was ugly. Yeah. It was, but that's okay. I mean, that's why he's got an ERA at all, because he has been dealing what I think it's 10 of 12 starts have been quality starts.
Unreal.
That's getting it done.
A phenomenal run. Well, hey, Mike, we'll definitely be back this week about midweek to talk more Astros baseball. And you know what? Next time we talk, I want to talk about Aaron Judge, because
Yeah.
I know Aaron Judge isn't a fan favorite of the Houston Astros.
Well, I mean, this past weekend, this was
has,
the battle of the Titans.
It was.
Because you had the Yankees in LA.
Yes.
The game one, it starts off with Judge hitting a home run.
And
Shohei Ohtani in the bottom of the first hits a home run. He ends up hitting two. But the Dodgers took it to, you know what? I think they're probably playing right now. The Dodgers have really taken it to the Yankee pitching staff.
Oh yeah, and they played. Yeah,
they bust out the whooping.
So the Yankees actually won today.
They're already done. Okay.
They won 7-3, and Yarborough is 3-0 with the Yankees. A former Rays pitcher beat Yamamoto today, so 7-3 victory for them. But Aaron Judge is hitting like around 400. It's insane the run that he's on right now.
Well, it's 400. He's leading the league in home runs. It would like 22 home runs. At least that's, I don't know if he hit one tonight or not.
I mean, we're talking Triple Crown numbers.
Yeah. Yeah. No doubt. I mean, it's crazy because when he first came up, he had a problem with just making contact.
Yeah.
I mean, he still strikes out a bunch. But there was a lot of people questioning whether he was going to be a big leaguer, just simply because even in the minor leagues, there was just so much swing and miss. He's hitting 391. Ready for his OPS?
Yeah.
Okay. Now people need to understand the major league average on base plus slugging is 750 to 775. Okay. 1249 is his OPS. So that's slugging plus his on base percentage.
Wow.
Just absolutely remarkable with what he's been able to do with the consistency and driving the ball. And 391. I mean, dude's just shy of 400.
I mean, it's impressive. The last 3 seasons, his OPS has been over 1,000. But it's almost 1,300 right now. So we'll talk about that, some other stories around the league. But thank you, Mike, for hanging out. Thank you, everybody, for stopping by. We appreciate y'all going back to the bullpen with us. And the Astros head to PNC Park. I hear it is a must-visit stadium.
Very nice.
And then after that, they stop at Cleveland. Then they come back home after a day off. So for myself and everybody here at Back to the Bullpen, y'all have a good one. And as always, go Stros.
Adios. Hey, spread the news about Back to the Bullpen.
That's right. Let them know. Join us. Subscribe today.
I'm looking to the bullpen to bring my lefty in. Keep the lead and make your team look pedestrian. It's in your wheelhouse, we'll swing for the fence. You know it's money around here, man, I ain't talking expense. Strike one, heat a low in the way, you can't hit it. Know you wanna start a rally, but you better forget it. Strike two, off speed, same spot, your car looking. Get ready at the plate, this time you're not cooking. Strike three, swinging out of the zone. You ain't even touch it first. Tell me how they gonna drive you home. Walk it back, looking like